Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another SLG Meetup. I'm super excited to bring you an exceptional human being to today's episode. And the reason I say exceptional is because what he's done, I think there is nobody else in the world. In fact, he holds that world record of being the only person in the world to climb Everest, to do the seventh summit, which is the tallest mountain in each continent, to ski both the North and South Pole, being the Hawaiian Ironman World Championship finisher, and all of that after surviving 2 cancers and being in coma for a year. Now that, if it's not enough, he lost one of his lungs, and he did all of that with only one lung. I get goosebumps when I hear that story. His name is Sean Swarner, and I'm super grateful to call him a friend, a brother, somebody that I got to experience firsthand the resilience that he's built over the years and the inspiration and the empowerment that he brings to anybody around him. So it's going to be a pleasure to have him talk about his story and everything that he's learned throughout this process of battling these cancers, battling all these challenges, climbing those summits, and developing that extraordinary mindset. Now let's bring Sean into the life. There he is. What's going on, my friend?
How's it going? For some reason, I lost you in my headphones.
No. Look, I was making an honest introduction about the exceptional human being that you are. And I gotta say that you're also a funny dude. We always have a great time together.
Absolutely. You know, I think my biggest achievement is somehow being your friend.
Wow, come on. See, you're a charmer as well. But you know, it's funny because last time we were doing a video call, you were like sweating to death in a bike training
That's
for
right.
your race. And I was in a hyperthermic coverage, like breathing oxygen. It's like, who does these video calls? Nobody. It's just hilarious. But listen, Sean, thank you for joining. I really appreciate having you here with us today. Your story, I mean, is just so unique. And not just this story, but what it represents and how people can take a piece of that story and apply it into their own journey. So for those that don't know much about you, which by the way, everybody should know about you, everybody should read your books, which we'll get into that later, but give us a little synopsis on how this persona of Sean Swarner came into fruition.
That's a great question. And we probably don't want to go back all the way when my mom and dad got together and 9 months later it came out. So
maybe a bit too much.
we'll skip over those family details. But it's interesting how the whole saga of Sean Swarner came about, because I was just a normal Midwest boy growing up in a small town called Willard, Ohio. You know, my backyard was a bean field or a cornfield, depending on the season. My dad was the only dentist in town, and a lot of times people couldn't afford his services, but they bartered. So let's say you couldn't afford a filling or an extraction or something like that. Because it was a farming community, they would give us fresh vegetables for the entire year, and he would help out with whatever's inside there. And because it was such a small town, everybody knew everyone else's business. And what was funny was, because when I got sick, as you mentioned earlier, my first cancer was when I was 13 years old. Because it was such a small town, I had everybody in that town rally around me. You know, they all supported me. Go, Sean, you can do this. You're going to survive. And the interesting thing was, because I had that support system and because I had the mentality of not focusing on not dying, I was focused on living. And I remember being 13 years old on the bottom of the shower floor, my hands and knees, literally sobbing my eyes out, just bawling my eyes out, and the water was filling up in the shower because my hair was clogging the drain. And I told myself I didn't want to focus on not dying, I wanted to focus on living. And it was a perspective shift that really got into my mind. And anybody who goes into the corporate world thinking, oh, I don't want to lose money, that's not something you want to do. You want to focus on what you want, not the avoidance of what you don't. So I think that's where the Sean Swarner started, with that mentality and that mindset. And then another cancer came about. I got over the first one. Second one came about. Going in for a checkup for the first cancer, they found a tumor on an X-ray about the size of a golf ball. Excuse me. They did a needle biopsy where they thread a needle about this long through my ribs to take out part of the tumor. Then they went in and removed a lymph node. They put in a Hickman catheter. They cracked open my ribs, did a thoracotomy, took out the tumor, sewed me back up, put a drainage tube in, and started chemotherapy in less than 24 hours. And this time around, the doctors told my parents that their firstborn son, I was 16 at the time, I only had 14 days to live. You know, and anyone who's going through something like that, I'm on the cusp of my life. I'm 13 to basically 18 years old, and the doctors are saying you're going to be dead in 2 weeks. I had an expiration date of 14 days. So a lot of things go through your mind. But again, I just continued pushing forward and one day at a time, and learned to really, truly appreciate every day.
Wow. I mean, I'm getting goosebumps just hearing you speak about that. And there is one big lesson here, which is choosing to live. And a lot of people have this mindset, right? It's upside down because everyone dies, but not everyone lives. So it's about living full and dying empty. And you had that great support system that gave you the courage to elevate your mindset to decide, I want to live. And you focus on what you wanted, not what you didn't want. And I think that a lot of people in life go through those journeys of like, oh, I don't want this, I don't want that, I don't want that. But they forget about what they're actually living for. And that's very, very profound. Now, a few years later, not only you survived, but you actually did something that no human in history was able to do. Besides being in coma, besides losing one of your lungs, you were able to do what people with 2 lungs consider even impossible, which is doing the 7 summits, being on top of the world like Everest, North and South Pole skiing, and the Hawaiian Ironman World Championship. I mean, that's just phenomenal. So tell me, how does somebody go from overcoming such struggle to then decide, I want to take it farther and do what's impossible?
One day at a time. And going back to what you said about having the right mindset, being alive and living, there's a huge difference, like you said. But in any situation, no matter what situation you're in, you always have a choice in how you want to react. I couldn't choose. I couldn't change the fact that I had cancer, but I could choose how I wanted to react to it, and I wanted it to be a positive experience.
Right.
And I wanted to use Everest as a platform to stream hope, and it started literally one step at a time. I mean, when you get to Everest Base Camp, you don't just magically show up at the top of Mount Everest. The same thing when we went up Kilimanjaro together. You don't show up at the Machame gates and then 3 hours later you're at the top. You have to take your time gradually going up, but appreciating what you have along the journey, along the way. It's never about the end destination.
For those that don't know, Sean and I actually have been friends for a while already, and one of the most beautiful experiences that we've got to do together was to climb Kilimanjaro, and then we even did the safari in the Serengeti in Tanzania. But one of the things that was so impressive about this experience is that it was not an expedition where you go and just go climb the mountain. It was as Sean calls it, an inspedition. It was beyond just climbing a mountain. And that was very, very beautiful and profound. So tell me a little bit about that inspedition so that more people know about this term.
Well, it's interesting because I've taken people up Kilimanjaro now 24 times with double the average success rate. Yeah, the average success rate of the mountain is 48%. My group's at 99% success rate. And so many people in their minds think, oh my, I'm going to conquer this mountain. If it's you versus Mother Nature, she's going to take you down every time. You're never going to win that battle. But if you understand that you're conquering yourself, not the mountain, then you go on this inspedition, which is an inward journey through an outward adventure. You have a deeper purpose behind it. You're going to have much more a higher success rate. So it's the same thing in life. It's the same thing with everything. And there's a giant difference between inspiration and motivation, which is fleeting, and then empowerment, which is what goes along with the inspedition. You have this empowerment, and once you start utilizing your own personal core values to motivate your own self, you become empowered to go on to do great things. And we do it every year at the end of July.
What is the actual meaning of luxury?
It's interesting because I was at a mastermind class a few months ago, and I was being interviewed up on stage in front of multimillionaires, a handful of billionaires. And there was a guy in the audience who had 4 or 5 private jets. He probably had 15 houses, 200 cars. He had everything. And I looked at him. I was like, "Why are you here?" Yeah, I stopped the interview. And I was like, "Why are you here?" He's like, "Well, to make more money." I was like, "More money? You have more money than God. What could you possibly want?" And he goes, "Well, to network." To network with who? You sold your corporations to Warren Buffett. Like, who else do you need to network with? So we started peeling back the layers, and finally he realized, I'm here because I want to give my family the life I know that they deserve. And I looked at him, I was like, that's why you're here. You're not here to network. You're not here to make more money. Those become a vehicle to support the real underlying meaning behind it. So when you look at the people who are living this life of luxury, you have to step back and realize, the Ferrari, the Maybachs, the $40 million homes, yes, it gives you the ability to do certain things, but it doesn't bring you happiness. Happiness is an internal job. You can have all the money in the world, and on the outside, you can seem like you have everything, but you never know how someone's truly feeling on the inside. They may feel empty. I was talking to a guy yesterday who's a multi-billionaire, and he's having a hard time getting out of bed because he has no purpose in life, in his mind. So I think if you live a life of luxury, you're living a life based on your terms, and you choose to look at what you have and be grateful for that, as opposed to looking at what you don't have and being sad about not having. So a life of luxury stems from a choice to be happy.
What do you also do to bring that drive back to say, I can still keep doing things that are impossible?
I would say it differs based on where I am in life, because the drive changes based on my own personal core values. And if you value, let's say you're 35 years old now, and you value the same things that you did when you were in college, you need to revisit those values. So for me, getting older, I actually have a list of values. It's funny you asked that, right by my computer. Clarity, love,
nice.
appreciation, and so forth. And I see them every day. And recently, meaning 5 years ago, got married. You met her, Julie. Well, you haven't met her yet, Julissa, born and raised in Puerto Rico. And now I'm no longer doing these things for myself and helping others. Now I'm married, and it's we. So it's not just me anymore. It's we, and you'll hopefully maybe one day figure this out too.
I'm kind of there. I'm like, oh shit! Like I need to start thinking more about. Yeah, but I feel you. I understand.
Yeah. So there's this shift.
Look, I really appreciate you taking the time today to share your story, to share some of those pointers, and I wanted to make sure that anybody that is watching, listening, to go and check out Sean's profile, to check the website for Kilimanjaro, ultimateclimbchallenge.com, like also like anything that relates to Sean. He has the link on his Instagram. Check it out because it's very fascinating. You also have a documentary that people can see more about your story. So where can they find that as well?
Amazon. It's called True North, the Sean Swarner story. It's an Emmy-nominated film based on my trip to the North Pole. And if you do watch it, just make sure you have a box of tissues. My mom still, I've seen it hundreds of times, my mom still makes me tear up.
Oh, God. I tell you, you're right. I watched it. I remember I don't even watch movies. And I said, look, it's Sean. I have to watch it. And a tear came out of my eye. And I'm like, man, what the hell is happening? The allergies came in early this year. No, but true inspiration, true empowerment. And I think that the word right there is what you said. It's empowerment. It's actually making you feel that you can do more in life. So I appreciate you. And can't wait to see you soon and enroll into some of these challenges that we have lined up. And for those watching and listening, stay tuned because we're going to be doing some fun stuff together.
Sounds great. Thanks, Kaka.
Kaka, yeah. By the way, Kaka is Swahili. It's brother. So we have this internal joke because in Spanish, Kaka is shit. But in Swahili, it's brother. So Kakita, nice to see you, my
Kakita.
friend. And thank you again. Bye.